So we'll start with the second one. So this one, we'll start with this one. The first one, we've already done it on a previous video. There's a link at the top if actually you want to see how we did it. So, but let's do this one for today. So let me actually remove these reds on it, and then I'll start explaining that how do we actually go ahead with solving it. So the first thing that we do, all right, we look if we have the brackets. So we have the brackets. You can see that, okay, there are these brackets. It's x and then open bracket, 3 minus x and close bracket. So every time we have the brackets, right, we must try by all means to simplify the brackets first so that actually we have a polynomial, or maybe we have something a bit simpler to deal with than just having these brackets. So we'll have to actually take the x and multiply with the 3, and then take this x again and multiply it with the minus x. All right, so let's start it. So x multiplied by 3 will give me what? 3x. And then x multiplied by minus x, that one, will give me minus x squared. All right. And then all this is equals to what? To minus 3. Okay, brilliant stuff. So the next thing that we do, we must choose a side. It's either we're going to be working on the left-hand side or the right-hand side. So looking at this one, because most of them, the x's are on the left-hand side, I might as well just choose the left-hand side, right? Because I'm gonna only take one to the left, right? Okay, so this will stay as it is, and then we're gonna bring the 3, the minus 3, to the left-hand side. So it means that 3x will stay as 3x, then minus x squared will be minus x squared, and then, okay, that squared looks a bit bad. Let's try to make it look good. Brilliant. And then we have to find a way to take the minus 3 to this side, because we can't just take the minus 3 as it is and then it arrives on the left hand side as it is, right? The rule says that if it's a positive, when it jumps a sign, it has to be a negative. If it's a negative, when it jumps the sign, it has to be a positive. All right. So it means that now, because this is negative 3, when it jumps this equals to sign, it has to be what? Positive. You are right. So it means that now I will have plus 3, right, which is equals to 0. Brilliant stuff. Okay. So when we have this polynomial equation, which now everything equates to 0, we can try to make it look good again, right? We can start by the x squared, because it's easier to deal with the higher x or the higher exponential than actually just dealing with the lower exponential of x, right? So we'll actually rearrange them, and then we're going to say minus x squared plus 3x plus 3 equals to 0. And also we can make it a bit better again by removing this negative, because it's good to actually deal with the positives in most of the cases, right? So to remove this minus, we can multiply everything by a negative, right? So that the negative multiplied by negative becomes a positive, right? So it means that this whole term will be multiplied by what? By a negative, which means that now it's going to become a positive x squared. This whole term multiplied by a negative, it will become a what? A negative 3x. This one multiplied by negative, the positive 3, it will become a negative 3. And then this one multiplied by a negative is always gonna be 0. Doesn't change. All right. Okay. So now we go to the next step. So we have to try to factorize this, right? Because now when we have x squared, it's always best to factorize it, so that now we'll have the individual x's, because we're solving for one x, we're not solving for x squared, which is two x's, right? Okay, so let's try to factorize it. So factorizing it, it means that now we'll open the bracket, four brackets, and everything should be equals to 0 as indicated, or as actually it looks like on the previous step. So when we're solving for x, um, sorry, when we're factorizing x, right, what we have to look at now, it's actually to distribute this x squared. So between the two brackets, every one of them must have x. So it's gonna have x, and this other one must have x. After distributing the x's, right, we have to look at this tree. We have to see the possibilities that is there anything that we can actually multiply with so that we get this one. So we don't look at the middle one, we look at the last one first. So we want to know that which ones are the multiples of 3. So we have 3 multiplied by 1, which is going to give us what? 3, right? And then that's the only one that we have. We don't have 3 times anything else. It's only 3 and 1. So let's see. Is there a possibility that we can get minus 3 using 3 and 1? Which is a bit tough to do. Because, for example, if we take 3 and we add 1, we're going to get what? A 4, isn't it? So if we decide that we wanna do these ones, we're gonna get a 4. No, I can't write it. Okay, it's fine. So if we decide that we wanna add these two, we're gonna get a 4, right? So which is not a 3. If we decide that we have to minus, let's say we have to say 3 minus 1, we're gonna get a 2, which is not equals to this one in the middle. So we can't be able to do the normal factorization because of this issue that we don't have um, the two terms that actually we're gonna use to get the one in the middle, right? Because the thing is that we must make sure that this one, there are two numbers that we have for this minus 3, which will bring us back to this minus 3x. So we can't do it this way. So this will be wrong, okay, if we want to try that way. So let me try to erase this, and then let's see which other way can we use if that way or if that method doesn't work. So there's another method, all right? So this method works like this. So uh, it's called the quadratic equation. So it says ax squared plus b, sorry, plus bx plus c is equals to what? 0. So it says that if we have something that looks like this, right, we can always get our answer, which looks like this. So this has to be a negative b, then plus or negative square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. I think I'm correct. I stand to be corrected, but I think that is the equation. Yes, I think that is the equation. I think that's the equation. So it's called the quadratic equation. So this will help us to factorize the same thing that we're trying to do. So we're trying to factorize, but we weren't able to factorize it. But this will actually help us to factorize what we're trying to factorize. All right. Okay. So in our case, right, we have to see that does this, right, look like this? And yes, we have x squared, there's x squared, we have x, there's x. We just don't know what is a, what is b, what is c, all right? So that we can always know. How do we know? Because these are coefficients. These are numbers before the x squared and the x, right? So for example, you see we have x squared, but here is similar as saying 1x, right? Because, sorry, as 1x squared, right? Because any number, if you multiply any number with a positive 1, it's going to become that number, all right? So it's as similar as saying 1x squared, which means that our a, right, It's most likely 1, isn't it? Okay. So now we go to B, right? We want to find B, right? Because B is used also in this equation. So our B, right? It's in front of our x. So in our equation, here's our x, here's the x on that equation, and then the b, right, has to be that number before the x, which is minus 3, right? Always make sure that you take even the minus because this is a positive. We want to take the minus as well. We don't want to just take 3 alone. We want to also take its sign. So it means that b now is going to become minus 3, right? Let me write it really nicely. Brilliant. Okay, and now we go to C. So C, it doesn't have an X, right? So C has to be what we have here. So it is 3, but it can't just be 3. It must go with its sign, which is minus 3. So it means that C is what? Minus 3. Okay, let me write the minus 3 nicely. So now do we have our A, we have our B, we have our C. Now we can be able to use what? This equation, the quadratic equation, because we have the B, the A, and the C, right? Okay, so which means that our X now, right, is equals to then minus B. So B is minus 3. So we're going to say minus, minus, okay, minus, then we open bracket and say minus 3 because we replaced B with minus 3. And plus or negative, and we say square root of. All right, so the b is b squared. So b, we know that b is minus 3, right? This is the minus 3 that we got. And then we're gonna put this in close brackets and say squared, right? And then we say minus 4. Minus 4 is as it is. Then A, we know that A is equals to 1, right? So we're gonna replace A with 1, and then C we know it's minus 3. So we're gonna replace C with minus 3. Okay, and all this, right, is divided by 2A. A is 1. So we're gonna replace A with 1, isn't it? Brilliant stuff. So now we're gonna try to simplify this. So X has to be equals to, so minus, and then we put it, or maybe we multiply whatever it's inside the bracket, which is minus 3, is going to give us what? 3, because negative multiplied by negative is equals to positive. So we have 3, right? And then the plus and the negative will be as it is, so plus and negative, right? And then the square root, let's bring back the square root. So the square root now, inside the square root, we have minus 3 to the power of 2, which means that minus 3 multiplied by minus 3, right? So minus 3 multiplied by minus 3 will give us what? 9, right? And then this one, let's try to simplify it. Minus 4 multiplied by 1 is just minus 4. And then multiply by minus 3, which will give me, because the minus and the minus is a positive, and 4 multiplied by 3 is 12. So it's going to give me plus 12. Brilliant. Then divide by. So 2 multiplied by 1 is going to give me 2. Okay. So now we just want to add this inside the square root so that at least we simplify it a bit further. So we can say x is equals to 3 plus or minus square root of. So 9 plus 12, which will give me what? 21, right? Am I right? I think I'm right. 21 divided by 2. There we go. So this is your answer for solve for x. This is your answer. And what does this mean? This means that let's try to put it somewhere. Let's try to put it somewhere here, which means that x is equals to 3. Where is the 3? 3 plus square root of 21 divided by 2, or x is equals to 3 minus, where is the minus? I can't write anymore. Okay, my screen is done there. Yeah, so it's 3 minus square root of 21 divided by 2. So it just means that our answer can either be a positive or a negative. Let me show you. So our answer can either be 3 plus square root of 21 divided by 12, or else it can be 3 minus square root of 21 divided by 2. So this is the answer actually. This is how you answer questions which you can't factorize. And it makes sense because the first one you see it's 3 marks, which means that this one probably you can factorize it. Then the other one is actually 5 marks, which means you have to do an extra step to actually get it right. So the marks in most cases, they will actually tell you what to do in most cases. So, yep, this is how you actually approach it every time you find solve for x which looks like this, and then you can't actually factorize it. Okay, catch you on the next video.